you hungry? Let's take a trip.
Okay, so first things first is we're going to start with our goat. I have a pound of goat in here that I just cleaned with some salt and water. And first I'm going to make the stew. So I put garlic, ginger, and 2 small onions and a little bit of water so it blends up. And I'm just going to put this in my blender and make it into a paste. You just want to get it into like a frothy consistency. Right now I don't have any heat on my goat, so we're going to pour that in. So now we're going to add 2 tablespoons of curry powder. Not 2 tablespoons, y'all. 1 tablespoon. This is just half a tablespoon, so I'm using it twice. You're going to add 1 tablespoon of white pepper, and 2 tablespoons of thyme. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the reason why we're cooking the goat first is because we're going to actually use that as the stock for our jollof rice. So we're going to cook that down first, and then we'll start on the stew for the jollof rice. I'm also going to throw in 1 chicken bouillon. And then I'm going to add in water. I like to use bottled water, 1, because it's purified, and 2, because it's cold. If you start your stock with cold water, it'll release it'll depurify the stock, so you get a nice clear stock. I'm just going to start with 1.5 bottles of cold water. We're going to get this a good mix. Now your seasonings are not going to incorporate because the water is cold, but as the goat cooks, it'll incorporate itself, and you'll get a beautiful stock. Alright, now that we have that mixed in pretty good, you're going to turn your heat on to medium-high, and you're going to let this cook down until you get to a boil. Once you get it to a boil, we're going to cover and let it cook for about 20 minutes. Alright, so now we're going to start working on the stew that makes the jollof rice so delicious. So I have a few different things here. I have red bell peppers, I have tomatoes, I have 2 scotch bonnet peppers, I have garlic, ginger, shallots, and tomato paste, as well as some seasoning and herbs. So first things first is we're going to make the red stew. So you're going to use, there's a few different recipes, y'all, so I'm just going with what I've seen as well as what I've researched and what I've tasted. So I'm going to use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 red bell peppers, 4 tomatoes, all these shallots, all this garlic, all this scotch bonnet. However, I'm not using all of the red stew for my jollof rice just today. I'm just making extra because I want some to cook some other dishes with. So I'll tell you guys how much in the description below you need of everything. I'm making 3 cups of rice, which means you need 6 cups of liquid. So let's get started. So you're going to take your red bell pepper, you're going to take basically everything, blend it up, and make it into a stew. I'm going to show you. So I'm going to cut these up a little bit, just because I have a smaller blender. Alright, so I have a little bit of red bell pepper, garlic, onion, shallot, ginger, tomato. You're going to put everything in your blender and break it down. I'm going to go ahead and do it off camera because who needs to see me blend a whole bunch of veggies. But once I get everything blended down, I will show you what it looks like. Alright, so my goat has been cooking for about 20-25 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and remove it. This we're gonna fry up later to get it nice and crispy. So we're just gonna remove it for now and set it to the side. And then we're gonna strain this liquid, and this is the liquid we're gonna use for our jollof rice, as opposed to using like water or anything like that. It's gonna give it a good rich flavor. If you need to see, this is the liquid that we, the red bell peppers, tomatoes, scotch bonnet peppers. And what we're going to do is we're going to cook this down. So I know it looks like it's a lot of liquid, but this is actually going to reduce by half. So that's the liquid I'm going to use for my jollof rice.
A few minutes later.
This is our beautiful goat stock we have. And I'm going to just taste it and make sure it tastes good. So good, y'all. Oh, I'm so excited. Alright, so now we're going to start on our stew to make our jollof rice. First things first is you're going to fry the tomato paste. So, I'm using extra virgin olive oil. I'm going to use about half a cup. I'm using extra virgin olive oil because it has a little bit higher of a smoke point and it's a little bit heart healthy. A lot better than, you know, synthetic oils. So we're just going to wait for that to get nice and hot, and then we're going to fry our 14 ounces of tomato paste. Alright, so I have had my oil heating up for a little bit. A good way to find out if your oil is hot enough in order to go ahead and start cooking is to take any wooden spoon and stick it in the oil. If you see the little bubbles like you see on there, then that means the oil is hot enough. See the bubbles? So let's get to frying. Make sure you're getting all your tomato paste out so we're not wasting anything. And I like to go ahead and put those in for a little bit. Tomato paste has a little bit of oil in it, so what I do is I'll fry the tomato paste for a few seconds, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with my 1 large purple onion. It was like massively big, so I'm not going to use all of it. And we're just going to cook that down. You're going to cook it until you get a nice aromatic, fragrant smell from your onions. Now that we've let our onions and tomatoes cook down, I'm going to go ahead and add in my pepper, tomato, and garlic puree. Again, be sure to scrape, scrape, scrape. And we're gonna mix this up, and we're gonna actually cook this down until all the water cooks out from all those veggies. Vegetables like tomatoes, they carry a lot of water, so you wanna make sure you cook that down. So you're literally gonna cook this down until it reduces by half. So I'm just gonna incorporate everything first. And then about halfway through, I'm gonna let this simmer for about 10 minutes. And then halfway through, we'll start seasoning. Okay, so we've reduced about a third of the way. If you can see, it's thickened up quite a bit. But what I'm gonna do is season it now so that those flavors have time to marry before we add our rice. So, to season, I'm going to go in with 2 chicken bouillon cubes. I cut it in half because I couldn't get it open, y'all, so bear with me. Chicken bouillon in. Now I'm going to go in with all of my spices and herbs. We're going to do 3 big bay leaves. 1, that's a little one, so we'll count that as 2 and 3. We're going to do half a tablespoon, of curry powder, half a tablespoon of white pepper, half a tablespoon of thyme, half a tablespoon of all-purpose seasoning, and half a tablespoon of paprika. A lot of people use smoked paprika. I'm using Hungarian paprika. Gives it a little bit more of a sweet flavor. Then I'm going to go ahead and mix all these flavors in. Alright, so while we're letting our stew cook down, I'm going to go ahead and fry the goat meat off. I just have a little bit of oil in here, and I'm going to just drop them in to get a nice crispy fry. You don't want to fry them too long because you don't want it to be tough, but you just want it to get a good crisp on it. I'll let it fry on all sides so it's nice and crispy. I've seen a lot of the videos, a lot of people deep fry it. Again, I want to disclaim, this is my take on jollof rice and goat, so this is what my heart tells me to do. I'm using a lot of the flavors that they use in Nigeria, but I also want to put my little spin on it, you know? So I fried off all my goat, and then I'm just going to hit it with a little bit of all-purpose seasoning and let it drain on these paper towels. Looks great, y'all. Yummy! Alright, y'all, so we have cooked our stew down. What I did was I took what I needed. I took 3 cups of the stew. I only did 3 cups because I have 3 cups of rice, and you always want to make sure you double the amount of liquid that you cook your rice in. So I'm using 3 cups of this and 3 cups of the goat stock to cook the rice. I took the excess sauce that we have and put it in here for later use. So I already pre-washed my rice. I washed it 12 times to be exact because for some reason it just didn't want to run clear. So you want to wash your rice until it runs clear. That's going to remove the starch and make sure that the rice doesn't stick together. So you're going to go ahead and add in, this is 3 cups of rice into our stew. And you want to also make sure, if you're just cooking the amount you need, you want to also make sure that you reserve some of the sauce for once it's done, just in case. So we're going to mix this in. Perfect. So now we're going to go ahead and add in 3 cups of our goat stock. beautiful stock, nice and clear. This one. I'm gonna do 4 just because it's kind of hard to get these perfectly level. One more to be on the safe side. Alright, and we're gonna mix that in. And you want to make sure that you're tasting your food along the way. I tasted the goat stock, made sure it was nice and flavorful. We tasted our sauce, made sure that was nice and flavorful. Because what you don't want to do is have something that doesn't taste good and then you try to make it taste better later. It's always better to taste along the way so that if you need to tweak anything, you can. So we're going to get this nice and incorporated. You want to have water right above the top of the rice. Well, not water, but liquid. So I'm going to add a little bit more of our goat stock just to make sure there's enough liquid in there. Just to the top. Mix that in. Yep, and you see how it settles right on the top of the rice? That's how you want it to be. So we're going to let this sit. We're going to cover it and let it cook for about 20-25 minutes on medium-low heat. Alright y'all, so it's been a few minutes. I'm just going to do a quick check and make sure everything's cooking nice. I'm using a fork to fluff so that it doesn't make anything stick together. It's looking good, looking good. I'm going to turn the heat down just a tad because there is a little bit of sticking to the bottom I can feel, which is fine, you know. We just want to make sure you're not burning anything. Looks good, nothing's sticking together. Let's do a taste test. It's good, y'all. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and let it cook down. I am gonna add a little bit more of the goat stock just to make sure that everything cooks all the way together nicely. So now what I'm gonna do is actually turn off my heat and just leave it covered. And we're just gonna let the steam from the rice cook it the rest of the way. So let's put a little bit of foil on. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and just cover it with some foil. I turn my heat off. We're going to put the lid on top of the foil. And what this is going to do is create basically like a vacuum seal and lock all that steam in, and it's going to finish cooking. So we'll come back and check in about 15 minutes. Alright y'all, so it's been about 20 minutes, so let's go ahead and remove the top and see what we got. Looks good. Let's fluff it. Yep. I like it, I like it. I'm going to go ahead and remove the bay leaf. Looks good. Let me taste to make sure it's cooked good. Oh my god. It's so good. Okay, I'm so proud of myself. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and garnish. To finish, I'm going to add a little bit of clarified butter. If you don't know what clarified butter is just butter, but you remove the milk solids, so has a better shelf life, and it's really good for people that tend to be more on the lactose intolerant side. And then I'm also going to add a few cherry tomatoes that I just cut up and some diced red onion. And we're going to mix that in. And we're gonna get plated, and then I'll see you guys at the dinner table. All right, y'all, so this is our final product. You have the delicious, beautiful goat and jollof rice. This is how I serve you if you were at my house. Y'all, I'm so excited. Let's taste it. It smells so good. It has a little kick to it. Finishing it off with those tomatoes and those fresh raw onions. So good. So good. You want some?
Don't stay a tourist. Become a local and hit that subscribe button. And make sure you spread the love by liking and sharing this video for more local tourist cravings.